Andrew Pittman's techno-autobiography, Putting Words on Paper. Pittman provides us with the development of his writing through the use of different mediums, such as a typewriter, a fountain pen, and a computer. Each of these devices allowed him to put words on paper and get his ideas out of his mind and onto something tangible that he could hold. Throughout the paper, Pittman emphasizes that although he continues to adopt new technologies that become available and mix them with old ones, they are not especially fancy or high-tech. He notes that his computer and his printer cost him less than $500, his typewriter was about $15, and his fountain pen cost less than $6. Each device has its own affordances and constraints, but they all do the same thing and allow him to transfer his ideas onto something that he can have and to edit and see his progress. Pittman fuses together the use of these three writing devices to explain that the writing process will continue to change and move into the digital world, but we will always have the simplicity and materiality of words on paper.
The design of Pittman's piece imitates a Word document on a computer written in Times New Roman font. The website reflects the content of the text and establishes Pittman's visual identity with rhetorical choices. He does this very successfully by choosing visual elements that coordinate with the words he is providing us. As the audience reads through the piece, they will notice blue fountain pen edits throughout the paper and a small section written in a font that mimics a typewriter. For example, the navigation font is all hand-drawn and scanned on his computer to be utilized on the website. Pittman notes that he wanted to do so in order to create something modern that he could see himself in. His design choices are supporting the thesis of his argument and showing the ways that writing techniques can be used together to create something new that is still familiar.
Pittman organizes his techno-autobiography with his navigation into different sections. So he talks about the computer, the typewriter, the fountain pen, and then goes back to the computer. To lead us to each section, there's a link at the bottom of each page, and it's inserted into the sentence, so it makes you click on it to go towards the next section to see what else he's going to talk about.
While Pittman utilizes three different writing devices to construct his techno-autobiography, he explains that choosing a writing utensil can be rhetorical. He, however, makes the rhetorical choice to explicitly state that he is not part of any retro typewriter movement or elitist fountain pen club. It feels a bit like he is making a claim that he is a true writer at heart and not just a person following a fad.
Pittman makes it clear, though, that it is important to find what writing device makes it easiest for the writer. Through his fusion of writing devices, he produces a text that shares his story and the development of his writing styles. He emphasizes the importance of both embracing new technologies and preserving old ones to create something new and exciting that works for the writer.
Although the techno-autobiography does present a creative way of looking at the process of writing, Pittman's piece is a little bit random at times. We found that we did not feel inclined to click on any of the links because there wasn't enough context for them. If he had introduced some of the outside links or provided a quick overview about what he was offering, we may have been more interested in clicking on them and finding out what they had to add to the piece.
Although the design of Pittman's website is awesome and incorporates the technologies that he talks about, we thought that a lot of it was difficult to read because it was double-spaced and the paragraphs were kind of long for an online text. We think that if Pittman were to chunk his information and provide subheadings in the section, it would be a lot clearer and easier to read. We thought that Pittman's piece was really interesting and that it made us think about our own writing styles and the rhetoric of the writing devices that we use. What you choose to write with and the pieces that you choose to create reflects who you are as a writer and who you are as a person. And writing has a lot of personality that goes along with it. And Pittman did a really good job of highlighting that with his text and the design that went along with it. Hey guys, we're going to show you how to hide the heading for your main navigation on your web page, so a screen reader can still read it, but it won't appear on the website. So we're going to start by working with some CSS here, and let's create the header, and we will close that tag. So your navigation is going to be in the header, and we'll start with the H1, which is the title of our web page, Oshawa Raptors. And now we'll do the H2, which is our main navigation. So this way, the screen readers will see Oshawa Raptors, and then they'll also see main navigation, so people with a screen reader can see what's important on the website. So we've got our H1 here, and let's style it a little bit for what we want it to look like. And we'll make it a little bigger. that sounds good. Okay, so now we've got the Hashua Raptors here, and let's move on and start with the H2. Now let's give it a class. We'll call it hidden. So we will start with that, and now we can be specific here. Alright, so this is what we need to do. This is copied from our website. We've got the H2 hidden, and you're going to position it absolute. We're going to do it left, negative 10,000 pixels. So we're basically just going to shove it all the way to the left off of the screen. Let's make sure it worked. There we go. So now our main navigation heading is gone, but it's like it's still there because it's an H2 and people will be able to see it.
The second tutorial we have for you today is an animation. So we are going to be using keyframes to make headings appear and disappear. And the first thing that needs to be done is the @WebKit keyframes, and name it whatever you want. We're going to call it appear because that's exactly what we will be doing. Then you are going to bracket it, and then inside that bracket you are going to designate that at 0%. It will be, the opacity will be 0. And then you are going to designate that at 100% the opacity will be 1. That way it knows to be invisible at 0%, and then at the end of the time it will be 100% visible. We're going to do another one that's appear disappear. So we're going to do @WebKit keyframes and call it appear disappear, just for the sake of easy to remember names. For appear disappear, we are going to say that at 0% and at 80% the opacity will be 0, and then at 20% and 100% the opacity will be 1. That way it will appear, disappear, appear, and disappear and appear again. And now that that's done, we're going to go back through and put in the code that needs to be added to make it work for the header. And there is a very long way to do this, which is specifying each part of the animation. The first one will be WebKit animation name, and that is appear. That will link it back up to the keyframe in the style. And this was not done in the correct order, so it is not all there at the moment, but it will be once we get back to where we need to go. The next is animation duration, which is how long you want the animation to last. We are going to put 1 second so that it will appear in 1 second. The timing function is basically how the animation will progress. We are going to say ease in so that it will simply ease in to the site. The iteration count is how many times you want the animation to go through. We're going to say just 1. The animation direction, in terms of alternate, that is whether it goes forwards or backwards. And by saying alternate, if you have more than one iteration, every other iteration will be a backwards animation. The delay is how long you want it to wait before the animation starts, and the fill mode is basically putting it at backwards. Is basically saying that when the animation is done, it will finish however it started in the initial keyframe. Setting it to forward means it will apply the values of the last keyframes after the animation ends, and putting it at none means it will just end and that's it. Luckily, there is a shorthand for this, and it is simply doing WebKit animation and then putting everything in order. So the name, the duration, the timing function, iteration count, direction, delay, and fill mode. And then we're going to put in another header to go with the shorthand version, and we're going to call it testing. Then we're going to give it the class shorthand so that we know what it is referring to. And of course I had a D instead of a B in the original, so that one was not working, and now it's fixed. And we're going to have the class appear for both of them, that way I know for sure which one it's referencing. And then we're going to preview, and it is going to work for both of them the exact same. Ta-da! And now we're going to do appear, disappear. And the first thing we're going to do is change all the names that say appear to appear, disappear, just so that everything can match and it will go to the correct animation. And we're going to change the duration and the animation delay both to 2 seconds. The iteration will stay at 1 and everything else will stay at 1, and we're going to keep testing with the appear animation. And then we're going to preview it. But it did not disappear twice, so something funky is going on. And after some testing, I discovered that I accidentally put the opacity at 80%, or for both the opacity at 0 and for the opacity at 1. So we are going to change that back to 100%, and there we go. Now it appears and disappears just as it should. And the shorthand didn't work just because I had put it into a little background comment. And now we're going to watch them both, because now you can see how multiple animations can work together.